Welcome everyone, StealthyShiroean here, and today I'm bringing you another devlog video of my game dev journey. It's been a really long time since I made that first devlog and the game jam I entered. So what have I done in all that time? Well, looking at any individual thing I've done, not a lot, but when I take a step back, I think there's a decent bit I've learned or been exposed to that will probably be helpful in the future. After moving from Japan back to the States, I was still trying to get a sense of normalcy, but after a while I decided to continue work on Last Stand. I began by planning out levels in a Google Doc and creating an organized task list with Trello. Also, I learned a bit about version control and using the GitHub desktop client. This was helpful for backing up my project, but also allowing me to use more powerful tools such as creating new branches and the ability to revert commits, or individual saves of my project, if you will. These things are incredibly useful when working on new features because if I screw something up, then I can just scrap the changes instead of figuring out how to backtrack what I did. Since then, I've learned more about version control and the differences between Git, GitHub, and the GUI client such as GitHub's desktop client or source tree. With all that under the hood stuff, I also did manage to put out a small update to Last Stand. Half of the update was refactoring my code to create a better foundation for adding new enemies and defenses in the future. The next part of the update was adding better player feedback when shooting fireballs. This was the biggest criticism commenters from the game jam had with my game. So to remedy this, I added a red flash to the enemies and created a basic particle effect to show a poof of smoke when the fireball hits enemies. It's a small change, but I think it does a lot. These changes are live, so if you want to try them out for yourself, check out my itch.io page and let me know what you think. With the version 0.1.1 release, I began drawing up plans for the 0.2 update, which would include a few things for better defense placement feedback and greater control over the enemy spawners. I also wanted to include some tutorial levels for better player onboarding, and the inclusion of a new feature, which was a charged up fireball blast. Actually, as I think about it, that might have been too much for one update. Anyway, I only finished the charging fireball, which introduced a new charge bar that would fill when the player wasn't firing a shot. There were two stronger variants of the fireball at the 60 and 100% marks. The functionality of this worked exactly the way I wanted, but none of this was balanced with current gameplay. As you might be able to tell, I don't plan on bringing any new updates to Last Stand at the moment though. Lately, I've been working with some people on a different project, which I can't really give away too much at the moment. What I can talk about is the number of things I've been doing, being investigative research and basic tutorials of various tools. In the past month, I've been introduced to Shader Graph, which is a tool that lets you make shaders with a visual scripting interface the tool uses. I didn't really do much with it, but it seems like a really cool way to make various graphical effects like shimmering water or a screen static. I've also watched a few tutorial videos covering Fmod, which is an audio tool used to create sounds and music. I'm not really an audio guy and mostly looked into how to integrate it with Unity, but the tool itself seems really powerful because you could edit the audio on the fly while in play mode through Unity's editor. For myself, I wanted to become more familiar with C# and more facets of the Unity engine. I kinda realized that even though working on Last Stand is great, it's slower to introduce me to using some of C#'s other functionality with inheritance, interfaces, and other more advanced concepts. When I have a problem I want to figure out, I tend to stick to what I know, and that might not be as efficient or potentially even game-breaking later down the road in the development. So I'm back at it by taking some courses. Recently I've started going through the RPG courses on gamedev.tv because they were geared to an intermediate level. As of this point, I learned about nav meshes and raycasting, both of which are being used to navigate the player character to points on the screen the user clicks. It takes in the point where the player clicks by casting out an invisible ray, and that information is then fed to the navmesh agent on the player's character, which will then navigate the navmesh to where they're told to go. Anyway, as I progress, I hope to tackle game dev problems in new ways that I wouldn't know how currently. I know this doesn't really seem like a whole lot, and I don't have anything really fancy to show off. Honestly, I'm unsure if I'll have anything that great to show off for a long while. As I stated in my first video, these devlogs are primarily journals to document my process for myself over anything else. I would love to be able to create fun devlogs cataloging new features in some upcoming game I'm making, but that's not where I am. Hopefully one day I'll get there. Let me know if you're following a similar journey, or whatever it is you guys might be working on, game dev or otherwise. If this helped you in some small way, then please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.